In the world we live in today, there exist structures built from sheer, wild imagination. They are so insanely dangerous that even the most brilliant engineers shake their heads in disbelief. Sometimes these marvels are perched at dizzying heights, hanging on the edge of the sky. There, the line between a breathtaking miracle and a catastrophic disaster is separated by just a few inches. Yet these incredible feats rise up in the most impossible places on Earth. And today, join Haida Planet as we explore the most dangerous constructions on the planet. Ones I'm certain you've never heard of before. The Dancing House, Prague. If civil engineers prefer straight lines and perfect 90-degree angles for an easy life, this structure is their absolute nightmare. To create that waistline, the engineers had to use 99 concrete panels of completely different shapes and sizes. There was no mass production. Each panel was a spatial geometry challenge. Look closely at the window frames. They are not aligned vertically. Architect Frank Gehry intentionally placed them at an angle to create a visual effect of movement. For a structural engineer, analyzing load distribution in a wall riddled with irregular, non-uniform openings is a real pain. Millau Viaduct, France. With a maximum structural height of 343 meters, it is about 19 meters taller than the Eiffel Tower. When it was inaugurated in 2004, it was the tallest bridge in the world and held that record for over 20 years. Instead of building each section from the bottom up, the engineers did something incredibly bold. They assembled the entire steel bridge deck on flat ground at both ends of the valley. Then, using a giant, synchronized hydraulic jack system, gradually push each bridge segment out over the valley, advancing just 60 centimeters at a time. Many call it the world's most beautiful bridge for its slender, graceful look, yet it's insanely ambitious in scale and construction. Leaning Tower of Pisa, Italy. It is proof that sometimes mistakes combined with incredible perseverance can create an immortal icon. The mistake began right from the site survey of the impossible places. 12th century architects placed a massive stone block weighing nearly 14,500 tons on a foundation only 3 meters deep. The soil beneath Pisa is a mixture of clay, mud, and sand from the rivers. When construction reached the 3rd floor, the tower began to settle unevenly. If it were us today, the project would probably have been cancelled amid endless lawsuits, but no, the Italians just decided to keep building. Yusufeli Dam. Would you believe the Gorges Dam is so massive it's visible from space? This is the world's largest hydroelectric power plant, built on China's Yangtze River, stretching 2.3 kilometers long and 185 meters high. That's about 11,000 Olympic swimming pools filled to the brim. Ships cross the dam using the world's largest ship lift, rising 113 meters in about 40 minutes. You won't be shocked to learn that the dam holds 39 billion tons of water and generates roughly 10% of China's electricity. Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. This is the top project on the list of the world's craziest construction techniques, something even engineers would find hard to believe. Built with approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 to 3 tons. Total weight 5.9 to 6 million tons. Heavier than several dozen modern aircraft carriers combined. Many engineers watched the simulation video and shook their heads when it was built in the middle of impossible places. Modern skyscrapers of 100 stories require massive cranes, but this all rough stone, no machines, was finished in under 25 years. "4,500 years ago, no machines, no electricity, no concrete, just bronze, wood ropes, water, sand, and brilliant brains, organization." This is the clearest proof that ancient humans were not stupid, as many think they were simply geniuses in their own era's way. Palm Jumeirah and the World Islands, Dubai. The first crazy thing about Palm Jumeirah is that it was built entirely from sand and stone. Engineers dredged 7 billion cubic meters of sand, then used vibration compaction to create a solid, stable foundation. Without proper techniques, the entire island would have been nothing more than a giant shifting pile of sand. To create the perfect palm leaf shape that you see from space, they used military GPS satellite navigation to guide the sand-dumping ships. If Palm Jumeirah was a resounding success, then the World Islands is a dramatic play of the construction industry. Recreating a world map using 300 artificial islands. Burj Khalifa, Dubai. This is the craziest invention in terms of structure. Instead of a traditional square or round core, the Burj Khalifa uses a hexagonal central core surrounded by 3 Y-shaped arms. Result: the building is now much stiffer in torsion and lateral bending. Strong winds at extreme heights no longer make it sway or shake. Burj Khalifa isn't the tallest building due to high costs, but because of an unprecedented level of boldness and ambition unlike anything before. It is living proof that when you combine brilliant design with extreme materials, construction will not accept failure. This is not just a single museum, but an entire city comprising 55 separate buildings, all constructed on the water. Its main feature is a massive dome with a diameter of 180 meters and a weight of approximately 7,500 tons. The dome appears to float above the complex, although in reality it is supported by 4 hidden pillars. The structure is made up of 7,850 intricately shaped elements arranged in a complex 8-layered pattern. When sunlight shines through, the interior is bathed in a shower of shimmering reflective light. Some even argue that this architectural masterpiece is more impressive than the Mona Lisa painting. Golden Gate Bridge, USA. To grasp this madness, look at its location. The Golden Gate Strait is where the harshest conditions converge. With current speeds reaching 100 kilometers per hour, the eddies are so strong they can capsize any vessel. Visibility is often zero, making technical navigation a nightmare amidst impossible places. Imagine braiding 129,000 kilometers of steel wire at a height of over 200 meters amidst raging storms. The entire main cable was created by pulling individual strands back and forth between the two shores using a massive pulley system. Hoover Dam, USA. As one of the most insane engineering feats in human history, it leaves even modern engineers shaking their heads in admiration. With a total volume of approximately 4.4 million cubic meters of concrete, if poured as a single block, it would take over 125 years to cool completely. They embedded 582 miles of 1-inch diameter steel tubing throughout the entire concrete block. Cold water from an ice plant was continuously pumped to draw heat away. As a result, each block took only about 2 months to cool completely instead of decades. Sagrada Familia, Barcelona. Before modern computers and 3D simulation software, Antoni Gaudí created his own supercomputer using ropes and sandbags. Instead of traditional sketching, he hung ropes upside down to create the most natural curves under the influence of gravity. Then he used mirrors placed underneath to see the reflected images, the shapes of the architectural arches. This approach is incredibly clever at distributing weight. It allows soaring vaulted ceilings while maintaining an airy grace, making thousands of tons of stone appear as light as a forest canopy. The Interlace, Singapore. This project isn't the familiar Singaporean-style skyscraper, but rather a giant, vertical village. This structure comprises 31 blocks, each 70 meters long and 6 stories high, stacked on top of each other in a hexagonal grid rotated 120 degrees. Instead of building vertically to save on foundation costs and reduce wind resistance. Transforming the tall tower into a horizontal stacked structure creates 8 enormous gardens and a series of massive green terraces. Better natural wind circulation, lower urban heat, and noticeably cooler than typical condos in humid Singapore. Veluwemeer Aqueduct. Imagine driving down a highway while a yacht floats over you. No, you're not mistaken. That's the Veluwemeer Aqueduct in the Netherlands, also known as the Impossible Places. Essentially, it's an inverted bridge. Instead of building a road over the water, the bridge is for boats and has a road running underneath. For the 19-meter-wide water channel, they used 22,000 cubic meters of concrete along with steel piles. Thanks to this design, boats and cars move smoothly without traffic jams. When intelligent people take on projects, they turn out cheaper, more efficient, and better for everyone. Three, Gorges Dam, China. To grasp its insanity size alone isn't enough. The numbers would make veteran engineers shiver. As a reservoir containing 39.3 times 10 to the 9th cubic meters of water, the consequences are astonishing. This enormous volume of water, concentrated at one point, altered the Earth's moment of inertia. According to NASA's calculations, it slowed the Earth's rotation by about 0.06 microseconds and shifted the Earth's poles by about 2 centimeters. The idea that a man-made structure could interfere with the Earth's rotation was once something we only saw in science fiction movies. Gordie Howe International Bridge. This is the longest cable-stayed bridge in North America, connecting Michigan and Ontario, and it has no supports in the river at all. Construction took place simultaneously on both sides of the border, with the two halves eventually meeting precisely above the water. When it came time to install the final 11 meters segment, engineers discovered they were short by just 15 centimeters. Instead of altering the structure, they used hydraulic jacks to shift the Canadian side of the bridge, a technique never done before. Today, the bridge operates successfully and has reduced traffic congestion by about 35%. Morning Glory Spillway. This spot could have been used to film this scene with almost no special effects. But what you're looking at isn't a whirlpool. It's the world's largest Morning Glory spillway, measuring 22 meters across. It's located in the US at Lake Berryessa and helps protect nearby towns from flooding. This isn't just a hole in the water. It's a precisely engineered structure. Beneath the spillway is a 61-meter deep vertical shaft that channels water into a creek behind the dam. When it's not in use, though, it looks like a mysterious portal in the middle of the lake. Montreal Tower, Canada. Famous for its 4-degree tilt and fears of collapse, the Montreal Tower boldly leaned to a full 45 degrees. Despite its height of 165 meters, this angle of inclination causes the center of gravity to shift significantly outward. The tower serves not only as an observation deck, but also as the main anchor for the retractable roof system of the Olympic Stadium. 26 enormous steel cables hang from the top of the tower, supporting the dome. To this day, it still stands there, defying gravity. Eden Project. The most shocking aspect is that instead of using heavy glass for the dome structures, they used ETFE. Why would that be crazy? ETFE is 99% lighter than glass, but extremely durable. If glass were used, the weight of the dome would cause the entire structure to collapse into the unstable clay mine. Engineers have created inflatable ETFE pillows. It's like building a house out of giant air bubbles that can support the weight of an entire truck on top. Delta Works, Netherlands. In 1953, the North Sea storm swept through the Netherlands, killing over 1,800 people and submerging thousands of homes. The water level rose dramatically due to widespread dike breaches. And so Delta Works was born as a massive system of dams, sluices, locks, dikes, and most notably movable tidal barriers. With a total cost equivalent to approximately $7 billion spanning 43 years, they shortened the coastline from 700 kilometers to 80 kilometers, essentially cutting off nearly 90% of the length that needed protection. Rolling Bridge. In London, it's not just a bridge, it's an art installation that challenges all preconceptions about civil engineering. Normally, bridges are designed to be fixed in place. But Thomas Heatherwick's rolling bridge chose to curl up like a millipede. Instead of splitting in two to make way for ships, it coils until the two ends of the bridge meet, forming a neat octagon. At first glance, you might think this is a rigid steel structure, but in reality, it's an extremely flexible, dynamic chain of links. Complex, inside, simple outside, that's the height of true engineering, intricate mechanisms, yet operated with a single button. Gateway Arch St. Louis. The arch is not a typical circular dome. It is an inverted catenary curve. Eero Saarinen chose weighted catenary instead of pure catenary so that it would look softer and not too sharp at the tip. Notably, it has almost no significant bending moment and can essentially stand on its own without any internal auxiliary frame. Near the top, the 2.5-foot gap was forced open 8.5 feet more, using giant hydraulic jacks to fit the 8-foot keystone. Dick Bowser designed the pod capsule to run on a curved rail, rotating and tilting to always keep the platform horizontal. This is a unique transport system in the world, and it still works perfectly after more than 50 years. Panama Canal expansion. With an incredible weight, each door is as tall as an 11-story building and weighs an average of 3,200 to 4,000 tons. Despite weighing thousands of tons, they are designed to roll on rails with minimal friction in just 5 minutes. The transport of these steel monsters from Italy to Panama was a logistical feat that left the shipping industry breathless. The old Panama Canal consumed a huge amount of fresh water from Lake Gatun every time a ship passed through. Instead of discharging directly into the sea, the regulating basins next to the ship locks allow water to be reused for the next lift cycle. The project utilizes water recovery basins the size of 10 Olympic swimming pools. Akashi Kaikyo Bridge, Japan. This was the world's longest suspension bridge span from 1998 to 2022. Imagine driving between two towers, nearly 2 kilometers apart, a span so long, it takes about 1.5 minutes, with nothing but air beneath you. To build each anchorage, giant caissons are lowered to the seabed at depths of 40 to 60 meters, then filled with 350,000 tons of concrete. One anchor weighs as much as a large ship just to hold the cables in place. Each main cable has a diameter of 1.12 meters and consists of 36,830 ultra-strong steel wires. The entire cable is designed to last approximately 300,000 kilometers, a number so unrealistic that every engineer has to double-check it. Singapore Port. You would never find the Black Pearl if you left it in the port of Singapore, the world's largest maritime hub. The port stretches an unbelievable 15.5 kilometers, which is enough to walk the entire coastline of Monaco 5 times. The traffic here is non-stop like Times Square, but with ships. Over 130,000 vessels pass through the port every year, with one arriving or departing every 2 to 3 minutes. Singapore handles around 50 million tons of cargo a year. That's like transporting 200 Empire State Buildings. I don't know how my tiny packages from Asian online marketplaces don't get lost. Great Wall of China. It is a millennia-long war between human will and the harshness of nature. No cranes or trucks, they passed bricks hand to hand on cliffs and strapped them to wild beasts to haul uphill. The sheer length of the wall's branches is staggering, exceeding 21,000 kilometers. This wasn't a flat road, but a winding dragon traversing the most treacherous terrain. It defies all rules of cost and manpower, and any modern project would be doomed from the planning stage. Sidu River Bridge. China, located in Badong County, Hubei Province, near Yesangguan Town, The bridge spans the deep valley of the Sidu River. When it opened in 2009, it officially became the world's tallest bridge, standing approximately 496 meters above the river. The bridge is a suspension bridge, with a main span of 900 meters, a total length of 1,222 meters, and a width of 24.5 to 26 meters. Two H-shaped concrete towers, each 118 to 122 meters tall, support main cables capable of withstanding tens of millions of tons of force. Driving across the bridge feels like you're suspended between clouds with sheer cliffs on either side at almost 90 degrees. Many people say that if you jump from the bridge, your body will reach its maximum velocity before hitting the bottom. And only Sidu River Bridge possesses this exclusive feature due to its incredible height. Royal Gorge Bridge, USA, located approximately 291 meters above the Arkansas River below Unreal Places, is situated in the middle of the river. The emerald green river meanders between towering granite cliffs, creating a scene that is both magnificent and awe-inspiring. The most distinctive feature of the Royal Gorge is its wooden deck. Whenever a strong wind blows or people walk by, the creaking sound of the wood underfoot creates a very realistic feeling. You can feel the bridge vibrate slightly, and that's when your survival instinct kicks in, even though it's perfectly safe. Standing in the middle of the bridge, looking down into the deep abyss, you'll see the train running along the riverbank as just a thin thread. That's the moment you realize how small humanity is in the face of nature. Seven-Mile Bridge, USA, approximately 6.79 miles long, but far from boring. The bridge curves slightly upwards in the middle, to allow ships to pass through, giving you the feeling of flying over the ocean. On either side are turquoise waters, the Gulf of Mexico to the left, the Atlantic Ocean to the right, blue sky, white clouds. The watercolor constantly changes from light blue to dark blue, then to a stunning turquoise, especially in the early morning or at sunset. The old bridge built between 1909 and 1912 was then called the Eighth Wonder of the World because it was built over the open sea. After being destroyed by a storm in 1935, it was converted into a road and then replaced with a new bridge in 1982. Chesapeake Bay Bridge, USA. The most breathtaking part is the suspension bridge at its highest point, where you're about 56 meters above the water. The horizon stretches endlessly, but the railings on either side of the bridge are frighteningly low. With its steep inclines, some sections feel like you're driving up to the top of a roller coaster. Because the bridge is situated in an open area on a vast expanse of water, wind is an extremely daunting factor. On windy days, you can distinctly feel your car being pushed sideways. Interestingly, these are actually two parallel bridges built more than 20 years apart. What's even more concerning is that this bridge doesn't have an emergency lane. If your car breaks down in the middle of the bridge, it's a real nightmare because you'll be blocking the entire traffic artery. Confederation Bridge, Canada. It is 12.9 kilometers long, connecting two provinces. A round-trip car fare is approximately $36, and only the journey from Prince Edward Island to the mainland is subject to a fee. This means that if you live in PEI and commute daily to New Brunswick, welcome to a monthly bridge tax. Designed as a metaphor for patience, this bridge took 4 years to build, from 1993 to 1997. Using 62 cast-in-place concrete pillars, they had to wait for the tide to recede to work in rough seas, a precious few hours each day. It's not just a bridge, it's a symbol of Canadian perseverance. A multi-span, post-tensioned concrete box girder bridge featuring a curved design as a safety feature to help drivers stay alert. The bridge is open 24/7 year-round, but may have closures or speed reductions during high wind events. This ecotourism center offers fantastic photo opportunities and hiking trails with views of the bridge. Oresund Bridge, Sweden. It is a combined road rail and tunnel system connecting Malmö, Sweden, and Copenhagen, Denmark. The bridge spans the Öresund Strait with a section nearly 8 kilometers long from the Swedish coast to the artificial island of Piberholm. This is where it transitions into a tunnel for the remainder of the journey to Denmark. This bridge is a direct link between the major urban areas of Malmö in southern Sweden and the Danish capital Copenhagen. The entire 15.9-kilometer bridge consists of 3 sections: a 7.8-kilometer bridge section, the artificial island of Piberholm, and a 4-kilometer underwater tunnel. It is also the 4-lane E20 European highway, creating an important connection between Scandinavia and the European mainland. Hangzhou Bay Bridge, China. It is a 36-kilometer-long sea-crossing highway bridge in Zhejiang Province, China. Inaugurated in May 2008, this bridge connects the cities of Jiaxing and Ningbo. With its S-shaped cable-stayed bridge design, it boasts a lifespan of 100 years. As you ride up the bridge, you'll see the coastline gradually disappear behind you, surrounded only by vast expanses of water. The bridge railings are painted in 7 different rainbow colors in sections, serving as distance markers for drivers. In the middle of the bridge is the Haitian Yiju service area, which is the main rest stop with a gas station, restaurants, and small hotels. The toll fee for a car is approximately $11.44, which is quite expensive if you're traveling alone. Furthermore, if you travel in bad weather, visibility is reduced. Sometimes you can only see water and bridges, not the shore. There aren't many convenient stopping points, so you need to plan your fuel and needs in advance. Mackinac Bridge, USA. Also known as the Mighty Mac. It is a massive suspension bridge in Michigan, United States. connecting the upper and lower peninsulas of the state across the Mackinac Strait. Inaugurated on November 1st, 1957, this is one of the longest suspension bridges in the world. What impressed me most was the design of the two inner lanes. Instead of solid concrete, they used open steel mesh. As you drive past here, you can see right through the road down to the lake's surface more than 60 meters away. This design helps reduce wind pressure, a crucial factor given the extremely strong winds in this strait. Langkawi Skybridge, Malaysia. This is one of the most epic experiences I've ever had in Southeast Asia. No exaggeration. It sounds like just an ordinary suspension bridge, but when you actually stand on it, the feeling is completely different. The bridge is 125 meters long, gracefully curved and suspended by cables from a single 82-meter-high pylon. Walking on the bridge feels like floating in mid-air with its glass floor and steel mesh on either side. The biggest advantage is the stunning 360-degree view. You can see Langkawi Island, the Andaman Sea, the national park, and on clear days, you can even see as far as Thailand. If it's foggy or raining, the view will be obscured, only showing white clouds drifting by, creating a magical and eerie atmosphere. You should check the weather beforehand, ideally early morning or late afternoon. Titleist Cliff Walk, Switzerland. Built at an altitude of approximately 3,000 meters above sea level, it is believed to be the highest suspension bridge in Europe. It broke the record previously held by the Salbert Bridge, also located in Switzerland. If you're brave enough to let go of the bridge railing and look out into the distance, the reward will be a breathtaking natural landscape. Sometimes, clouds drift right beneath your feet, making you feel like you're walking in paradise. Along with jagged snow-capped mountain peaks stretching to the horizon, reaching all the way to the Italian border on clear days. It is designed to withstand wind speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour and tons of snow. A little tip for you: dress warmly and wear sunglasses to avoid glare from the snow. Walking across that 100-meter bridge will be one of the most memorable experiences of your life. Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge, China. First of all, I have to acknowledge its beauty. The bridge is 430 meters long and about 6 meters wide. Suspended about 300 meters above the bottom of the Grand Canyon, the view below was a lush green valley. Along with the challenge of courage, this bridge is what makes it famous and also causes many people to give up halfway. The first time I stepped up, my legs felt weak and my heart pounded as if it were about to jump out of my chest. Looking down through the transparent glass into the bottomless abyss, it felt like the floor was about to shatter at any moment. Tickets cost around $25.54 US dollars, but they sell out quickly, especially during peak season, so you should book online in advance. Opening hours are usually from 8 to 9 a.m. to 3 to 4 p.m. Arriving too late means tickets might be sold out or the park closes early.